Gallery 902 is so pleased to have been invited to the Cranston Gallery here in sunny Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. And I'm here with owner and sculptor Guy Cranston.
Hi there.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're honored to have you.
So Guy, before you were a sculptor, you were a painter.
I was.
Before then,
I still am.
You still are, I love that.
Yeah, that's right.
And you were a wood turner?
Yes.
Take us back even further. Because how did you really find this path?
Well, like many sons, I guess, over the years, I learned from my dad. From a very early age, we used to be, my twin brother and I would be in the workshop with my dad when we were very little, and he'd be making a lot of sawdust, and we would, every once in a while, give us a hammer and a nail or something, and that's where it started. But I've always liked working with my hands, doing different things, mostly involving wood, only because I like it. I like the wood is very tactile, and I like the smell of wood, cutting it and burning it, chopping it, and doing whatever you need to do with it.
Especially growing up with that smell,
yeah,
just that feel.
Yeah.
And I think really that visually watching your dad do that. So then you decided you were going to try painting. How did that
No, I mean, that really was a long way down the road. I had done lots of wood carving and wood turning and various things, bending, shaping, whatever wood, for years, but it wasn't, I never in a million years imagined being an artist, or even thinking of being an artist. There were plenty in our family, and that's the last thing in the world I ever imagined that I would do.
Yes.
And it wasn't until Sharon and I got together.
You met a beautiful woman.
Yes, I did. Very, very lucky. I needed something to do. I had always had a workshop, and when we got together, I didn't. And she said, well, why don't you try painting? So I tried various abortive efforts, different kinds of painting, and discovered that I liked pastel work quite a bit. And after a while, they weren't making me nauseous every time I looked at them. And just by, like anything else, and especially if you want to get good at art, if you want to get good at anything else, you just have to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. So I did that for quite a number of years. And
just with pastel, or did you?
Primarily, yeah. A few other things, a bit of acrylic, but mostly pastel.
That's what you enjoyed?
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because you really love the vibrancy of color.
I do.
So that makes sense.
I love color. I mean, I was born in a house that didn't have 1 square inch of bare wall. There was something on every single wall, in every room.
That's
just the way it was. It was pretty crazy, actually. So, yeah.
But to have your world filled with color as a child, that's...
Yes.
I feel like that would make you feel like you could do anything.
Yeah.
I love that Sharon just said, why don't you try painting? Like, okay, I'm gonna try
we had to
this.
figure something out.
I love that.
So I took some classes. And again, I wasn't satisfied with what I was getting with the classes. And it was actually Sharon said, why don't you try pastel? She had done pastel for years and years and years. She did portrait painting at Canada's Wonderland with pastels. That was her intro. So we did, and discovered that I quite liked that.
And then you became more confident with that medium.
Yeah.
How long did you continue on that path?
Oh, quite a number of years. I'm going to say 10 years at least.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
During that time, were you still working with wood?
No. We were living in a condo in BC, in Vancouver, so not a lot of space for making messes. And then it wasn't until we moved back to Ontario, where I had a place where I could do some work, where I started reacquiring tools.
Because it's a lot that you need, yes?
Well, with what I do now, yes, it is quite a bit. But that was also an evolution of going from a beginning to where I am now is quite different.
So how many years now, Guy, since you've been doing this Beautiful fine art.
Thank you. That's really sort of evolved. I'm going to say, well, since we came to Lunenburg, I had been doing some birds with just plain wire before we came to Lunenburg, but by a series of happy circumstances, I was able to acquire all of this really brilliant colored wire. And an opportunity came up, and I went to Sharon and said, I've got an opportunity to buy a lot of this stuff, because it's very expensive if you buy it at a retail level. So I ended up buying close to 2,000 pounds of this wire. I have more than a lifetime of wire.
It is extraordinary, the colors that you have and the amount. I don't think that anyone could comprehend how much you actually need.
Well, believe it or not, there's some colors that I've run out of. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. And so now I have to improvise, because you can't find it. I can find some of this stuff in China, but you need to buy thousands of pounds of it to, I just can't get it.
And that would be very expensive.
Yes, it would be.
That's interesting, because the colors there's so many, but I guess for you, there's a particular...
Well, there's some that I go through a lot of.
Definitely.
The blues, the reds. I would kill to have white wire. So I had to make some improvisations to simulate white wire.
How did you do that?
Well, I paint the bird white, and I use silver aluminum for the wire, and it gives the impression that it's white. It's not, but because the underneath of it, the silver is white, it shows through.
I love, because you're experimenting.
Always.
Right, I like
always.
that.
And that's what keeps me up at night, and I'm always 10 birds ahead of whatever I'm working on now, what I'd like to do and what I'd like to try. And it's become a matter of finding the time to do it, because I'm constantly having to redo things that I've been successful with, and people want them, and so I cannot say no.
Produce them.
Yeah, so I got to do it.
I noticed some of the headdresses for some of the birds are just fantastic.
Some of them are right out of many of the pieces are right out of my head. It's just because I didn't feel like, I get bored doing the same thing again and again and again. And even if I'm doing, 10 puffins, that no two are the same. They're always different. But if I had to do nothing but puffins, I would get bored. So I will see things that I am constantly looking at birds. People from all over the place send me photographs. I get several photographs every day of odd-looking birds. And I will look at something and say, yeah, I could do that, or I like the head to that, or I like whatever. A piece of that bird is something that I would use. And I do.
So Guy, if I may go into something personal for you that probably put you onto the path that you're on, to this beautiful showcase that we're sitting here with today. I know that you have a journey that is a personal journey that you followed. Would you share that with us? Yes.
Sure. You're referring to my sobriety. A little over 35 years ago, I had something that happened, and I found myself on the doors of AA. And I have this small little, this is what I used to carry it with me all the time. This is a 1-year medallion. So I got this over 35 years ago, or 34 and a bit years ago, after 1 year of sobriety. But I keep it in my nightstand. I see it almost every day. And it reminds me of what it used to be like. And I absolutely am 100% certain that I would not be where I am today had I not gone through the doors of AA. That saved my life and probably some other people's lives.
It is an incredible program that helps families.
So the biggest thing for that is not wasting my time. I don't allow I don't allow myself to waste an awful lot of time. We're always busy.
And do you find you really enjoy the moments more now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For the first year, did you keep that with you?
Oh, constantly, yeah.
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 I remember as a young girl, my dad always rubbing his and having it in his pocket.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's an incredible program that I'm also very grateful for, you know, because there's Al-Anon and Alateen.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I don't, you know, I'm not active within the organization now like I was before. I know where I would need to go should there ever be any concern. There isn't a concern. I can't think of a single thing that would make me want to go back to where I was.
you're strong in your journey now.
Well, I don't know if I'm strong or not, but I do know I have always had a challenge that I would say to anybody, if you can tell me one thing in this world that gets better by having a drink, you let me know, I'll be right there.
This is true.
And it's just, I've never found that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Because we're looking and we're surrounded by where you ended up, and this is glorious. Really, it is.
Thank you.
What we're filled with around here. So we know we have Wanda, of course, in the front.
Yeah.
Who is this beautiful bird here on the table?
Her name is Angelique, and she's a red-headed hummingbird. It's not. It's a bird that's from the West Coast. I mean, here we have the ruby-throated hummingbird.
Is this one? This one's larger then?
Oh, much larger.
Yes,
I could never possibly do. I mean, they're not any much bigger than a large bug. So I just don't have feathers or wire that is that fine. I wouldn't have the patience to be. I'd have to be doing it under a microscope. So it is to scale, but it's much larger. And her beak is a nail.
Oh, now that I see it, yes.
There you go. So
Now talk to me about this beautiful little puffy bird in the middle. It's so
as I mentioned before, people send me photographs all the time. There's one woman in particular who sends me something almost every single day. And this is a bird from Australia called a fairy wren. And they're absolutely gorgeous. But fairy wrens, like many other wrens, are quite round in shape. And I intentionally exaggerated the roundness. But there are several, more research I did, there are several other birds that are very similar. You could barely tell the difference between the head and the body. They're just sort of fat little things, and they just make you smile. So anyway, that's my interpretation of a fairy wren.
They do, they make you want to just pick them up.
Yeah, you do.
Was she so pleased?
Oh, yeah.
That's really probably the most rewarding.
I was going to say two. I got one photograph from her today of a bird that I will do, and it'll be a big one.
Wow. Like Wanda?
No, it'll be much bigger than Wanda. It'll be a life-sized spoonbill, so it'll be that big.
How long would that take?
Actually, probably not much longer. They just have very long legs and very long neck. The body isn't that much bigger.
I feel like she's probably keeping a count of how many birds that you've done that she sent you. Love that.
I'm sure she is.
That's
actually
exciting for her. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
It probably helps her to feel like she's a part of.
I think so. And I welcome anybody. I always look at them, and many of them I say, yeah, I could probably do that, and I'll put it away.
Something that I think is so creative is your personalized band, which to me really made me feel like they truly are birds in the wild that have been, tagged.
I remember seeing somebody who had done birds, and they used a small little brass or copper plate and just tied it onto, with a string onto the bird's leg, and that's a good idea, but why wouldn't we do a band?
Yes.
And so I did a little bit of research, and I found this company in Cincinnati that manufactures most of the bird bands for the scientific world. And you can have anything stamped on the bands you want, and they have, you know, several dozen sizes. I just happen to use one that seems to work for all my birds, but you can have anything you want stamped on it, and this one just says handcrafted by Guy Cranston on the band. So that's how I sign my birds. That's the last thing I do. When I put the band on, the bird is done.
Guy, I literally have butterflies in my stomach right now. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We're so thrilled that you're going to take us through your process of what happens in your workshop. Even though it's on a smaller scale, tell us how you begin.
Well, this will be a very abridged version of what I do, but basically, all birds start as a big block of wood. And this is where I have made a template for every bird that I do, every kind of bird that I do, I've made a template. So that is the body, the side view of the body, and I will just etch it onto the block of wood. And the top view, looking straight down on top of the bird, I make a half pattern, and I just sketch that half, flip it over. So I have a mirror image. I know that the two sides are going to be equal. Then it's cut out on a bandsaw. I'll do the top piece.
And how many of these would you do?
I never do one at a time. So because this is really messy work, I mean, the glue, I get glue all over me and everything. I'm covered in glue. I buy glue by the gallon. The bandsaw, the grinders, the shapers, and everything else, they make a tremendous amount of sawdust. So I want to get as many done as I can so that I can walk away from that and not have to worry about it for a couple of weeks. So in any event, I've now cut out the shape, the body of, in this case, this is a life-size raven. Now, there is his head. And then again, top view and side view. And once I cut it out in the bandsaw, this is what I get.
The finished product.
For the head. So you can see that it fits just like that. And by cutting it that way and that way, this is what you get. And you get the same thing with the large body. As long as you get a big enough bandsaw to do it, you can cut out anything.
So give us an idea. How many of these would you do all at once?
At least 10. And it isn't going to be 10 ravens. There'll be a couple of ravens, 2 or 3 puffins, several cardinals, and then an owl, or this or that, all kinds. And I have, as I say, I have templates for all of them. I've made the templates. And every time I do a new bird, I make a new template because I don't ever foresee myself doing one of anything. I will make many of them, but they're different because the position of the head will change. I may tip the head, or I may point it down, or all kinds of. No two birds are ever the same, even though the body is the same.
You have a wall of templates.
Yes, I do. I do. So once I've got the body shaped off the bandsaw, then I get to this next stage, which is shaping it, and it's just a matter of refining, knocking down all the edges that are. You can see this is a sharp edge on the. So I'm going to round over the edge.
So you have an array of tools that you use.
Right, and again, I do some of that on the bandsaw, and then I have this industrial strength, for lack of a better word, Dremel. It's a high-speed grinder, a very high speed, and the one that I use is very powerful. I can shape from this sharp edge the entire body to that. I can do in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then it's just a matter of quickly running it on a sander just to smooth it off and just remove any sort of saw marks. I don't need to be really accurate, and I don't need to be perfectly smooth because the entire body is going to be covered with feathers. This is just a naked bird. It's like a plucked bird.
Now I see all of these drilled holes here.
Right.
How many? How long does that take?
Doesn't take me very long. And in fact, I can tell you, this is half the bird has been done. That took me 15 minutes to drill those holes. It's just a matter of methodically and it's not precision work. It's just with a drill, a hand drill, and on they go.
How long will this take you to do, this upper part of the body?
Well, there's 1,200, let's just say roughly 1,200 feathers that are in the body. There'll be another 200 to 300 in the head, smaller ones, plus his nose hairs that I refer to them as.
Right. And what about here, the legs?
Yeah, those are done separately. It's just wound wire. When I get on a real roll, I can do about 250 feathers in an hour. But I think it's probably more realistic to say, on average, 200 an hour. So you can do the math. It takes about 6 hours for me to feather this bird.
And your wrists are okay? Your hands?
My wrists are fine. Because it's copper, all of this wire, the vast majority of wire that I use is either quite a soft, malleable aluminum, or else it's a colored wire like this, which is plated copper, and it's very malleable as well.
So it makes it a little
So it's quite easy
tedious.
to do. It's, you just get sort of into a roll. It's sort of like knitting. You just keep on going row after row after row, and suddenly you've got quite a large patch of feathers done.
Now, when will you get to the part of the eyes and feeling the name? That process, like it's really...
As I'm sitting here, you can appreciate I have 6 hours to think about this or anything else that I wish to think about. So I usually have a pretty good idea. I often use the internet, and I will search for names. A perfect example, this one is called Branwen, which is an Irish name
Branwen's eyes.
for a raven. Or there was a Branwen, it was some kind of raven spirit or god or something like that. I just thought it was a nice name, so that is Branwen.
It really gives it that Game of Thrones feeling.
Yeah, very much so.
But the eyes, and are the eyes different for each bird?
Almost exclusively, I use these little black ones are made of hematite, and they're a bead. So I buy packages of hematite beads, and a couple of different sizes, but I like them because they seem to just accept whatever the color is around them. I mean, it's jet black, but it doesn't look jet black.
And it's very reflective.
Right.
Like amazing.
Yeah, and I just like them more than a realistic sort of glass eye or colored eye. The only ones that I use glass or colored eyes are the owls, because they're so big and they're so distinctive. I always struggled on how to explain to people what I do, and it checks every single box for folk art, which is self-taught, using sort of materials at hand. Whimsical, quirky, I never take myself too seriously. I shouldn't say that. I do take my art very seriously,
yes, you do.
But I don't take the design or the end product. If it makes me laugh, I'm pretty sure people will laugh, and they like them.
That's right.
So that's as far as I take it.